Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I bid to the moderator and our respective panels, Tuan Haji Jamaluddin Alias and Dr. Azlinda binti Abdul Aziz. My name is Nurul Syafiqah binti Cik Rani from PISMP Tesel 1 June 2017, and today I will be presenting on my research report entitled The Use of Colourful Pyramids to Help Pupils Memorize the Irregular Comparative and Superlative Adjective. For this research, I was guided by my supervisor, Tuan Haji Azman Mohamed Noor. For the background of the study, grammar is an essential skill in the English language as it allows the readers or listeners to comprehend the language well by receiving clear information. Without grammar, it may be difficult for us to understand the language as there would be no clear structure. Hence, grammar skill is crucial to be mastered. Ni Ketu Ayu Widyaningsih 2016 stated that, however, one of the difficulties that pupils face in learning English is mostly on grammar. She further adds, pupils find grammar difficult as there are too many rules. Case 2019 mentioned that one of the rules that pupils commonly have trouble with is the irregular comparative and superlative adjective. Next is for the statement of problem. Irregular comparative and superlative adjectives are formed differently compared to the regular comparative and superlative adjective, usually by adding er or est and more or most to the adjectives, whereas the adjectives for the irregular comparative and superlative adjective changes completely. Gardner 2020 stated that due to their irregularity, irregular comparative and superlative adjectives could only be memorized. Hence, due to how different they are, Case 2019 stated that pupils usually struggle in remembering those irregular comparative and superlative adjectives, including native English speakers. He also mentioned many mistakes such as bigger, spelled with one G, and more smaller are made by these native English-speaking children. Furthermore, this problem is also observed during both of my practicums, where pupils could not answer questions regarding the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives, hence proving that the problem of memorizing the irregular comparative and superlative adjective is common not only in Malaysia but around the world. The purpose of this study is to help pupils enhance their ability to memorize the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. To solve this problem, intervention through Colourful Pyramids was executed. Colourful Pyramids is a digital innovation that was developed by incorporating interesting visuals, animation, and sound effects. This kind of innovation was developed to help attract and retain the pupils' memories of the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives better. The research objectives are, firstly, enhance the pupils' ability to memorize the selected irregular comparative and superlative adjectives through colourful pyramids. Secondly, gain the pupils' interest in using the colourful pyramids to improve their memory on selected irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Meanwhile, the research questions are, firstly, does the colourful pyramids enhance the pupils' ability to memorize the selected irregular comparative and superlative adjectives? Secondly, are the pupils interested to learn the selected irregular comparative and superlative adjectives through colourful pyramids? The significance of this study is to help pupils memorize the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives in a more effective and fun way. Colourful Pyramids is an interactive application with interesting features that would attract and motivate the pupils to be interested in learning the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Thus, nurturing this interest would help the pupils to memorize the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives better. Secondly, to encourage teachers to implement interactive application within their lessons. Colourful Pyramids is an interactive application which the pupils are unfamiliar with it yet. Hence, it would excite and motivate them to learn and engage in the lessons more as they want to know more about the application. Therefore, teachers would have the pupils' full attention for them to focus and understand the lessons well. For this research, 3 Year 5 pupils are chosen as participants. all three participants exhibit an intermediate level of proficiency and mastery in the English language. The participants were chosen based on their performance on the diagnostic test done during the preliminary investigation, where all three of them received low marks. Instruments used for data collection are first, document analysis, pre and post tests, where it consists three sections. Section A, fill in the table with the correct irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Section B, underline the correct irregular comparative and superlative adjectives for the sentences. Section C, rewrite the sentences with the correct irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Second, interviews. Semi-structured interview was done to acquire the most suitable response from the participant. Thirdly, observation, by referring to an observation checklist when observing the participant based on the criteria in the checklist. For the research procedures, firstly, preliminary data collection was done to validate the issue among the participants. Secondly, the intervention Colourful Pyramids was designed and developed to help solve this issue. Thirdly, the pretest was conducted towards the participants. Fourthly, the implementation of the Colourful Pyramids towards the participants. Fifthly, the first session of data collection was conducted. Sixthly, the results collected from the first session was reviewed and improvements were made towards the Colourful Pyramids. Seventhly, the second session of data collection is executed. Lastly, no improvements were made towards the Colourful Pyramids after the second session, therefore proceeding to the third session of data collection.
For data collection and analysis procedures, as shown in the previous slide, the pretest was conducted before the intervention. The procedures for my research is based on Kurt Lewin's model, where in cycle 1, I first design and develop the Colourful Pyramids. Secondly, I implement the Colourful Pyramids and collect the data. The data for observation was collected while the participants used the Colourful Pyramids based on the criteria in the observation checklist. The post-test was conducted after the observation, and the interview was conducted after the post-test. Thirdly, I analyzed the data and observed the results. For the post-test, the participants' score was compared to their pre-test and post-test of previous sessions to see their improvements. Meanwhile, for interviews and observations are analyzed through thematic analysis based on the theme interest. Fourthly, reflect on the results and findings of the data. Based on the results, I decided on the next step, which is proceed to the next cycle by improving the Colourful Pyramids. The other three steps are repeated in cycle 2 as well. The intervention for my research is Colourful Pyramids. The pictures here display two main parts of the Colourful Pyramids. Picture 1 exhibits the pyramids with different colors that display the positive adjectives and their comparative and superlative adjectives. The words also produce the pronunciation when the participants move the cursor to the words. If they click on the word in the pyramids, they will be led to picture 2, guiding them on how to use the adjectives in sentences. Picture 2 here display an example of sentence for the comparative adjective word. Moreover, picture 2 is the improvement made on the Colourful Pyramids as most participants' wrong answers in their post-tests are from section C, where the participants are required to rewrite their sentences with the correct irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. The data findings for this research are: the Colourful Pyramids managed to enhance the pupils' ability to memorize the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. As seen in the graph below, each participant improved moderately and successively throughout all three sessions. The full score for the pre and post test is 18. Ayn scored 11 on the first session. She improved to 17 and 18 on the second and third session respectively. Meanwhile, Anis scored 10 on the first session. She then proceeded to improve by scoring 14 and 17 on the second and third session respectively. Lastly, Aisha scored only 4 on the first session. However, she started to improve and scored 9 and 16 in the second and third session. Secondly, the pupils are interested in learning the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives after using the colourful pyramids. As seen in the table, all three participants were interested in using the colourful pyramids and learned the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives after using the colourful pyramids. All three participants smiled a few times when using the colourful pyramids and are seen to move the cursor to the words frequently to hear the pronunciation of the words. From the interviews, they also mentioned that the colourful pyramids was interesting as the music made them feel happy and the pronunciation helped them as well. This research has managed to gain the pupils' interest and enhance their ability to memorize the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Based on the theory, John Piaget's cognitive development theory, where one of its components is schema. McLeod 2020 stated that schema is a way of understanding knowledge, or a mental representation to understand as well as respond to something or situations. This research applies this theory by using the colourful pyramids as a mental representation of the selected irregular comparative and superlative adjectives that would help enhance the participants' ability to memorize the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives better. By remembering the colourful pyramids, it triggers their memory to remember the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. In conclusions, the participants showed significant improvements on their results. Furthermore, the participants exhibit interest in learning the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Hence, the colourful pyramids succeed in helping the participants memorize and gain interest in learning the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Therefore, it can be concluded that ICT, such as interactive application with interesting features, help enhance children's learning ability and attract their attention. The recommendations or suggestions that I would make from this research are firstly, for teachers, to implement ICT such as interactive application within the classroom, as interactive applications such as Colourful Pyramids are shown to attract pupils' attention and motivate them to understand and engage in the lessons better. For further research, firstly, to implement the innovation on other pupils. Due to COVID-19, the participants for this research are the pupils that I could find near my home. Hence, to make sure that the results from using the Colourful Pyramids is really valid, I could try implement this intervention on other pupils, such as the pupils from my practicum school. Secondly, add more questions for the pre and post test. If the pupils manage to achieve higher scores, then it would validate this research more, as the Colourful Pyramids manage to help the pupils to be interested in learning and memorize the irregular comparative and superlative adjectives. Thirdly, conduct the research in a longer period of time. This research was conducted in 2 weeks. If this research is conducted in a longer period of time, The results may be more valid as it allows the research to be conducted carefully. The implications of this research is the effectiveness of implementing ICT such as interactive application within the classroom. Interactive applications such as Colourful Pyramids are shown to attract people's attention as they are not familiar with the application yet. Therefore, it encourages people's engagement as they want to learn more about the application, thus motivate them to learn. It also acts as aids for teachers as it allows teachers to have a good class control and explain the topic better to the pupils.
That is all for my presentation. Thank you for listening.